Hey, my name is Zan and this is my drawing from 2023 and I want to improve this and I'm gonna do that live. There are a few things that we can improve. First thing that I'm noticing is the shapes, and the other thing could be maybe the colors. The colors, and then what could be the next thing? Then I guess we'll see what we want to improve next. First thing we're gonna do is do a nice sketch. Now I just wanna encase the whole drawing in a box first. Move that over so we have our canvas, and then we're gonna do the drawing. Now move my tablet up a bit because this is kind of oh no. This is awkward, but that's okay. Yeah. Aha. This is my tablet right there. Okay, so let's do the sketch first, and let me also put my glove on. I should have done all of these things before I started the video, but this is supposed to be a live session, so I don't want to stress too much about this, and I probably won't even edit anything other than just editing the intro, or maybe just cutting down a few parts if it's too long, right? If I'm yapping about for too long. First thing I want to do is I don't want to start with the black ink, right? I want to add some colors to be, oh, even though I'm gonna erase that in the end, but I think I will keep some parts. So I'll just get a very brownish tone, and and just start doing it. Okay, so yeah, the drawing itself is quite nice. I don't know. So I'll just start with this. No, I don't want to stress too much about that. As I'm inking, I'm already thinking about the dark shapes, and the traditional painting steps that you use. So I'm already blocking out the shadows, and and the nose can be a bit up, like up here, because she's kind of looking up on us. It's gonna be hard to get the exact attitude right, but she's not smiling, or she's maybe influenced with this. Mhm. Yeah, well, that looks pretty nice. I'm gonna put some time in the sketch because then I can just focus on the other things when I'm painting it over, right? So that's kind of a good thing to do. And I'm gonna focus more on anatomy. I think we can improve the anatomy a bit. However, we can just flatten the jaw a bit more like this. She's like kind of looking upwards. Yeah. Yeah. If anything, if nothing else, I'm just making her prettier, right? So that's cool. Yeah. And I want to exaggerate the gesture a little bit because she's kind of like doing that. So maybe we should make the torso a bit big. I mean, I didn't want to turn out this small. Yeah. And then the hair can fill out some of the empty space. Mm. And she's like basically tilting her shoulder up like that. So we'll just I think we can even move this inward a bit more. Oh, not the whole thing, just the line. This is this. I don't know what this annoying thing is. This just pops up like that. I don't know. Yeah. So yeah, I'm not gonna make her tank top that deep. So I'll just do this. You know. Yeah. Let's see what we're gonna do with the hair. Yeah. So for the most important thing that I wanna focus here is the shapes. Because the shapes in this is very flat because I think I was trying to test out a hairbrush, right? So I don't want to make them this messy either, so I'll just I think the weight is a bit too much like on this side, so what we can do is just you know I think that's kind of nice. I mean it's not too bad. Yeah. And we can just add some shadows, stuff like that. Yeah. Mm. This whole thing is gonna be something like this. Mm, You know. Yeah. Now the most important thing we're gonna do is flip it back and forth to see if there's any like asymmetries down the line that you wanna fix right away. So far it doesn't look too bad, alhamdulillah. So I'll just just make some minor adjustments. Maybe the face is a bit too wide. Maybe when I like yes, yeah. Now obviously not gonna like define her neck this much, so I'll just, you know, yeah. So that seems good. I think we're ready for the next step. And I'm gonna make a new layer underneath, and I'll just, down the line I'm gonna merge everything together, so that doesn't even matter that much. So I'll just, let me whip out my, okay, so okay, so like I was saying, oh no, let's do the background first. So I'll just pick this random color just to start off. Now this color is a bit too warm, which I don't really like. And while I paint, I'm gonna tell you about this brush as well that I really love using. But the only issue with this brush is that it works on a single layer. Like you cannot layer things on top of each other, like in terms of layers. For example, I'll show you guys what I mean. So if I want to add some nice color, like some cool color to this, I can just do this and it will start blending the sides, Basically this acts as a brush and a blending tool at the same time. If you lower the pen pressure, it will start blending. If you what's the word? If you press harder, it will start putting the color down. If you press lower button thing, like if you lower the pressure, it will just start. What's the word? Man. Okay, so let me read that. So if you press harder, it puts the color down. If you press lighter, it starts blending the color that you just put down, right? So that's the basic idea. And I wanna kind of add some darkness to this, Now you can see it how it works. So I can just press lightly and it will start blending in the colors. Yeah, that's cool. And I try to do everything in a single layer, but I think it's just good to be safe and do it on a newer layer. And then once we have a nice base, we can just redo the thing. Where's the, oh, okay. Yeah, okay, I'll just add a new layer. And now if I try to add a color, to prove a point that it only works on an older layer. So now as you can see, it doesn't blend that good anymore. That's not a good demonstration, but that's how it is. Because I want the skin color to be vibrant, I don't want any too vibrant colors, any colors that are too vibrant in the background, so that I try to go with that rule. And I also like to use a base color that I'll be okay showing underneath, so I guess I'll just go with this reddish color, reddish tone. So I'll just put everything down. And I don't want to be too precious with the cleanliness of this. This I'm gonna erase down a lot of things once I merge everything down. Yeah, I definitely want to keep this part of the sketch, as it's gonna act as an ambient occlusion layer thing. But I'll erase most of the other things which are a bit too sketchy for my taste. So I'll just let me just take a airbrush and erase out this messy part, because I think we can keep some of that too as well. Okay. Let's start with the base color. So this was nothing but just a setup. Now we're gonna start putting down actual colors that's gonna end up in the final painting. Let's start with a warmer tone and maybe just like the base. I don't want to make it too bright though, so I'll just we'll see how it goes. Everything is gonna be very soft, so we can just keep things soft and not worry about things too much. And yeah, I do like the gradient that is keeping over, right? So I'll just put down a shadow. I don't want to add like these splotches of paint like randomly. That needs to be a bit more strategic, right? uh, yeah, and then we can have, I can shift the color a bit, then like a bit, add some blush on the side, maybe add some like cooler tones down here, maybe add some blues around the mouth up here. These all of these colors are going to show up underneath, so it's important to have fun at the start and put down some fun colors as long as the values are working right. So you can see that the colors that I'm adding down, they're not really like adding too much. For example, if I take this color, and I try this, as you can see, this is way too lighter than the base tone, so we don't want to add this kind of things when I'm shifting the colors and everything. No, I really want to add a warm tone here, so let me just, now I'm gonna start establishing the shadow colors and the value colors, the actual value colors. So I'll just put down the nose. Like, as a quick note, the nose is always darker than, even no matter if it doesn't matter if it's in shadow or light, it's always like a bit darker than the surrounding skin tones. I don't know, because it's red color, but that's how it is. So I'll just to add a shadow bit here. The way I'm gonna refine the shapes a lot more. I just want to put down the colors so I have a good idea of what I want to work with. Yeah, yeah. Then I'm gonna just add this color down here, and I'm gonna add this down there. Now we can call it done, but I think we can refine it a bit more. So I'll just zoom in, and we add some soft edges and some warm edges. Maybe I can add a cool hint of colors in the deeper shadows, right? So let's try and add like a cooler tone down here. I want it to be very subtle, but still want it to be there. Okay, that's not subtle. So I'll just keep the, yeah, that's kind of that nice. Yeah, and same thing up here, like, yeah, because overall, like, the shadows are going to be cool. So we are gonna make it like a cooler tone, and we can even insert some up here, right? Like in the some deeper crevices. I can even darken it, and maybe we can darken it more. Yeah, that's looking nice. And yeah, now the fun part is gonna happen when I'm gonna start adding the lighter tones on this. But these are just mid tones for now. But once I start doing like the lighter tones, it's gonna look very good. Yeah, I still want the planes to be very visible. I don't wanna do like too soft of a face, because that's just how I work, right? And I wanna define the shadow parts very clearly. Maybe put some cooler tones down here. Now, yeah, now this might look a bit too jarring at first, but then I'm gonna, like, once I start adding some dark, like lighter tones in this, I'm gonna unify all of these colors down, and so it'll look a bit more nicer than this. I can even start doing that right now. I can just put this up here. You can still feel the greenish tone underneath, but it's more a lot more unified now. And I also want to define the nose a bit more with this. I don't want to just leave it like that. You know. Yeah. Now let's add some local color in this. I can just get this and start adding colors underneath. I don't want these colors to grab too much attention, so I'll just try and keep them as light as possible. Now we can refine these shapes a bit more later, but for now I think these are good enough. Like I said, I don't want the neck to be that sharp, so I'll probably soften these down a lot more down the line, but for now I think that's just good enough. Yeah, and this can all be very reddish, and some of this, like, I don't know what color this is, but yeah, I'm also trying to do like traditional painting nowadays. Yeah, we can put way more cooler tones on this side because we don't want this to grab too much attention. You know. Yeah, okay, that's looking cool so far. Yeah. Yeah, this is still like a painting, a very rough version of the painting. I am gonna like do a lot more like unifying of colors once I just establish a base thing that I want to go with. You know, define the features a bit more with these darker tones. Ah, okay, I don't like this too much. Yeah, okay, let me put like some. Uh, oops. No, I do want darken it a bit. Yeah, maybe do something like that. We do want this to be a bit more warm, so I'll pick this and maybe add a little bit of warm tone to this. Maybe a bit more. Yeah, that was a good one. But it's the same color for the eyes. And yeah, now I can just add a lighter color on this to give it some form, right? And I can add a very dark tone of shadow in this, like that. Maybe not. Yeah, and I'm gonna do the same thing with this. Maybe I can get a simpler brush to use. This brush is kind of hard to use, like, but you can get very good shapes with it. So for like smaller details, you can just use like a different brush. Yeah, that's a bit easier to control. Something like that. And now if I put this on a multiply layer, yeah, I can just start refining these. Maybe we can add a bit more reddish tone to this and keep the other things dark. Then we can, like, down the line we can refine it a bit more. I guess now we can just start doing the highlights on this before we can maybe I can have some cool other types of cooler tones on this. Now this is still a mid tone, right? I am gonna add the light on this, like light on top of this, so you know. Aha. I really love the fact that this is catching a highlight in the older painting, so I'll just add this up down here, you know. Yeah, now it looks a bit more like it. Yeah, now let's put down color for the hair. Now the mistake I made was I used this color for the hair, which is very bad. We can just get away with using like almost this tone. That's a bit too light, so we can just use this tone. Yeah, this is a bit more nice. Hmm. Yes, how much time do we have? Okay, it's only like 56 minutes. That's cool. Uh, yeah, okay, now we can just start refining some of the features, maybe add some ambient occlusion on this side. We can get a way more darker shade. We don't have a darker shade, so I'll change. We can just make one and put down this color here. So at the end of the day, the colors don't really matter, right? Uh, but the values. So you can get away with a lot of things, but you do have to define the what's the word for it? Like the form of the things better. So I'm gonna now we can keep the dark shade like this, and then the rest of the work highlights can do. Um, yeah. Now I think we can just start putting down the highlights. Now this is not highlight. This is still like the local color, so I don't want to use this brush for that. I'll use my favorite one. It's a bit more subtle to work with. And the shapes get like come out very nice. And it automatically unifies the color, so you don't have to go over things over and over, right? And it gets the texture very nice and clean, just like so. Yeah. So now we can start adding the highlights. So I'll just pick one of the random colors, and I'll get this, and I'll put some. I want this to be a bit more warm still. Maybe we can add a bit more on this. Now we can refine the nose a lot more. And I can add a highlight up here. We don't want it to be too bright, but bright enough to give it like a, because we don't want this to grab all of the attention, right? Maybe we can unify this a bit more. This is kind of looking a bit too like different. Yes. Yeah, now it's time to add a highlight down here, which is just a simple shape like that, you know. And same thing with this side. I don't want to ruin the established shapes though. So I'll just try to stay on this side for now, and I will see if we need any other. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think now we can just do some. Yes, that's nice. Aha. Okay, now we can just refine it a lot more by just merging the sketch down and working on it a bit more. So I'll just take my soft eraser and erase out all of the details that I don't want. Details like this that are already defined. And merge everything together, and then after this we can get back to this after a little break. And it's important to have a break because you can find out, like, spot a lot of mistakes, which that's what exactly I'm gonna do. Okay, so now let's refine this a lot more. This is going to be a bit boring, so I don't know if you're going to stick around. This is just, painting over things and refining things as we go. I do want to have this overview window up so I can, I'll just pop this out. Make it a bit bigger. How do you make it bigger? Mm, mm, yeah, so I can get a good idea of how things are looking. Maybe I can soften this down like a lot more because I don't like the way it's looking right about here. So I'll just soften this up. Mm, yeah, I guess I'll just have to soften this up like that. So, you know, and maybe add some volume to the shirt, to this tank top. We don't want it to be too much, but we don't want it to be too small either. So, yeah. And I'm making this too like sharp, which I don't really want to do. So I'll just, make them nice and, now let's refine the face and the hair like very much. I love working on the hair though, which is nice. The combination of soft edges and then the like hard edges on the hair really like gives you a nice. And now we can just start, adding some highlights on top of this, which is, yeah, her smile has faded away, which I don't want to lose at this. Hmm. Mhm. Ah, okay. I think I paused it in the middle, but that's okay. Yeah, the painting looks promising. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, there are still a few things that I think I should work on, but that's our 50-minute mark, and I'm gonna stop it right here. Maybe I can add some. Like, I don't want to make her neck too defined. Yeah, and I don't want to make it too like vague either. So yeah, I think yeah that's a good balance right here. Yeah, that's pretty cool. And maybe I can just add some like minor details up here. Yep. Yeah, that's cool. I mean, I think in my older version, like the one that I didn't fix yet, it was grabbing like the body was grabbing too much attention, so that's why I had to like blur this out and put it in the background. Now it's a bit more cohesive. I think I should make this a bit more defined. Yeah, man, I love the reduction part of it. So yeah, that's our painting. I mean, I want to be able to do this in a traditional setting someday. I'm just not there yet. I don't like this crooked. Maybe what if I try to blend this in? Oh, yeah. I mean, it looks quite good. I mean, if I blend that in. Yeah, yeah. This versus this. Now, you can argue that these are two very different styles, but this is technically not a remaster. I'm just, drawing it in a new style that I like nowadays. So I'll just pick this white color and I'm gonna sign this. Oh man, I'm trying to reinvent my sign in the middle of. I don't like this sign. Okay, I'll redo the sign just. Yep, that's pretty cool. And the fun thing is the whole time lapse is recorded, so If you guys missed anything, and or if you guys wanna watch the time lapse, you can just yeah. Let me save this out. I love the sketchiness of it, so I just uh, uh, oh wait, I think I can like make it way more like good looking by just adding like these small highlights on my face, on my lips. Yeah, why is it not like she's smiling at me? I don't wanna ruin this again. No, okay, that's a bit too much. Maybe one day I'll come back to this and improve that. Okay, now let's look at the time lapse. So I'm gonna export the time lapse first. So I'll just do portrait redo. I didn't even save the thing. So I'll just go. Yeah, while this exports, yeah, just get myself nice and tidy. Man, I have my hair short and everything. I'm planning to grow out my beard longer, so short hair with like a long beard. I'm gonna get it even more short. You know, so like like almost a buzz cut. Then I'll have a beard like a bit long. So that's gonna be my new style. Okay, yo. While they exports, we can look at some other time lapse that I worked on. Uh, yeah, so this is the time lapse. Actually, I think I should narrate that. Yeah. So I'm refining the features like right at the start. Yeah, I did mess up the smile a bit at the end, which is not great. Man, the sketch looks very good. I did mess up the final painting, but that's okay. I mean, I'm not really good with drawing like smooth faces. I do have a time lapse like around here somewhere, which I like did a face, and the planes were like very defined. Yeah, this one turned out way better because the planes are all defined and everything, so you have way more room to work with things. Did the same thing with this guy. The values are all nice because I can get away with doing the planes like that. I think I should have, what I should have done that. What I should have done was that I should have defined the planes like this, and then I could have just, what's the word? Softened them, and it should have got me like very good result. So that's pretty cool. Okay, so that's the painting, and that was the time lapse, and I think it turned out good. I mean, didn't turn out as well as I wanted it to. So that's the wrap. Bye.